Welcome to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. My name is Stefanie Dingbaum. I am a mental health therapist, and I am so passionate about all things health and wellness, personal development, and empowering others to be their most authentic and best versions of themselves. Here at Therapeutic Intentions, we are all about having intentional and authentic conversations on whole body health, healing practices, mindset, and ways to uplevel your life so you can truly be the best version of you. If you are a woman, a mom, hope to someday be a mom, a healer, or just in a place where you want to start prioritizing yourself and your health, then this podcast is for you. I am so glad you're here. If you're ready, let's get to it. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. I am so excited today. You guys, I have one of my most favorite human beings on today. She is my favorite because she's my best friend. Like, that's a heavy title to give somebody, but she carries the title well. And I thought, I've been really wanting to do an episode on like relational health and maintaining friendships as an adult and what that looks like and balancing your friendships while also balancing all the other roles we hold, like being a mom, being an entrepreneur, holding a professional career, like whatever it might be. I just wanted to do, a recording on that for a while now. And I thought I should do it as a collab, and I should do it with somebody in my life who also has to maintain these friendships. And I thought, who better than my best friend? So I got this download like a month ago, and I texted her as I was walking my dog, and I'm like, I'm going to bring you on the podcast. We're going to do a collab. This has to happen. I have these awesome ideas. Like, I literally could visualize like me asking Meg these questions, and I already knew what she was going to say. And so I was hoping she was cool with it. And so, yeah, here we are. I have Meg Jones. Who? Meg Jones on the podcast today.
So yes, my name is Meg Jones. So you were so hilarious, because my husband is Mike Jones. For your listeners who are our age and older, that's really funny. Anybody younger than like 30, you just need to Google it and you'll get the humor.
That's funny.
So I am a mama to a 5 and a 3-year-old, JoJo and Sullivan, and married to my college sweetheart, Mike Jones. From Grinnell, Iowa. I'm currently living there right now as well. And what do I do? Well, professionally, I work for Grinnell College in the financial aid department. About as exciting as that sounds. And then when you sent me these questions ahead of time, I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, my job just like falls to the bottom. I think about like all the stuff with my kids and like being a daughter and a sister and a friend. So I am really excited about this topic as well. And like, how do we do that as adults? And then add that layer of us being long distance. LDR. Do you remember when I used to use that shorthand, LDR?
Yeah, and then I didn't want to be the one to be like, what does that mean?
Long distance relationship.
Well, Meg always knows the lingo and the newest like slang, and I'm always over here in Earlville like, I don't know what that means. Should
okay.
I ask her?
Maybe like 10 to 15 years ago I did, but like, let's be real, neither of us do.
That's true. So like Meg mentioned, or I don't know, maybe you didn't mention. Well, Meg and I met back in college. So Meg and I have known each other. So we met in
2015 years.
Okay, thank you. I was like, oh God, I should have done the math before we started. Okay, we've known each other for 15 years. We met our freshman year of college at Co College in Cedar Rapids. So here's my version of the story. And Meg might tell you her version. I don't know. So Meg and I were in the same first year seminar course together. We really didn't talk all that much or get to know each other really in that course though. But then freshman year is coming to an end, and they really put the pressure on you. Like, you got to decide where you want to live for your sophomore year, who you want to live with, and like, I didn't know any of this. I didn't, like, most people, like, they figured it out. And I just was in this place where I knew I didn't want to live with my freshman year roommate. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know who I was going to live with. And I literally, like, it was down to the wire. And we have a mutual friend, Kelly.
Shout out Kelly.
Kelly Steinlage, Kelly Frisch. So Kelly mentioned that she knew of somebody that also was looking for a roommate, and I was just like praying and hoping that this was going to work out. Well, when she mentioned Meg's name, I was like, oh, I think we're in the same seminar course, or we were in the same seminar course. And I had always thought, like, throughout the whole year, I thought Meg looks just like Taylor Swift. And we're talking the country version of Taylor Swift, like when she had
2008, 2009.
Yeah, like the beautiful long curly blonde hair. And Meg did look like her. And literally that was the only reason I agreed to live with her the next year, was because I loved
Wait, no. That was the only reason you agreed to meet me, because we had dinner in the
okay, you're right. We met for dinner. I agreed to meet her, because I was like, well, she looks like Taylor Swift. Like, how can I go wrong here?
Yes.
You can tell your version of it, but that's my version.
Yeah, basically the same thing. We had FYS together, but didn't really talk, or like at all, really, I don't think. Like, we knew who each other were because we had forced engagement, which is a good thing that Co does that.
Yeah.
But then I would have been okay living with my first year roommate, but she decided to be a CA, a community advisor. That's what they're called at Grinnell, RA, residential advisor everywhere else.
Yeah.
And I found that out shortly before you reached out to have dinner. And I was like, godsend, like, bet whoever she is, like, I'm living with her, because, like, I'm not going into this blind. And then we met for dinner, and I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like we hit it off instantly.
Yeah, we did.
And like had similar, like, religious beliefs and morals, which is like vibed kind of right away. Maybe part of it was like out of desperation. We were each like, oh, she's like a typical person. I can do this.
Yep. I didn't really have any other choices, to be honest, but it worked out. It really did. So we lived together our sophomore year, and then the first part of our junior year, right?
No, we lived together the first part of our sophomore year. So just one semester. And then that's when my dad got his brain cancer diagnosis. Yeah. So I took, is that right? I took spring semester sophomore year off.
Okay. And then we lived together when you came back.
And then we lived together when I came back, which would have been like your junior year.
Yeah. Because you technically were a semester behind.
Yes. Yeah. From the leave.
Man, you think you remember everything clearly, and then as we're talking this out, I'm like, oh, I do not remember it clearly.
I would not have thought I remembered it clearly. Maybe better than I did. But then did we live in two different?
Yeah, we were in Dougie Fresh dorm.
Like in our sophomore year. And then we did again your full junior year. And then your full senior year, we lived in Voorhees. Yeah.
Yeah, so we lived in a co-ed dorm for a year and a half together, and then we lived in an all-girls dorm reluctantly. We didn't want to, but it was all we had left.
That was the option, yeah. And it ended up not being...
Yeah, it wasn't horrible. I definitely preferred the co-ed dorm, but it wasn't horrible. Yeah, and so, we lived together two and a half years total, and just, we hit it off. We truly, like... obviously, like any friendship, we had the highs and the lows in college. Like you're making friends, but at the same time trying to figure out what you want to do for a living. So, I mean, there was the normal highs and lows. And when I say normal, I mean, when I'm talking low, I'm talking on my end. And I'm talking, one day out of I was PO'd at Meg one day, and I wanted to vent to my then boyfriend, about her. And I sent it directly to Meg. Talk about awkward, but we've overcome these things. Like, we've literally gone through the highs and the lows of friendship.
Yeah. So that happened twice.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Yes. Yeah, I wasn't texting you.
Both times on me.
The first time, like, you would ask for help with Spanish homework, and I had only taken Spanish at high school. And so I was like helping you the best I could. And you texted me like, Meg thinks she's so smart. And I was like,
I remember this.
I was like, you're the one who asked for help.
Literally. I mean, you know, we're living together, and also like our boyfriends are coming around. Like, yeah.
And we were young, right? Like,
yeah.
You think you're so old and mature when you're in college, but you're a baby.
Right.
Do you remember what the second one was?
Yeah. I think I sent it when I was in the cafeteria.
I don't know when you sent it, but I got a message from you saying like Mike was out of my league.
What? I don't remember this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I mean, you guys are married. That's just not true.
Yeah. I may have outkicked my coverage.
But
yeah, he was Greek. You and I were kind of not losers, but like we weren't like overly involved in stuff, or like,
yeah,
we weren't Greek. We didn't do athletics. We weren't like, you worked a ton. And like, I was a part of a few like committees on campus, but nothing like that made us cool. So it was happenstance that I got hooked up with this teak. And then 15 years later, here we are.
Yeah. He's amazing. Good dad, good husband.
He is.
And he works at Grinnell College too.
Yes, he does. He's an athletic trainer, graduated from Co the year ahead of us, and has been living his athletic training dream since.
That's awesome. Or college sweethearts, and now you're working at the same college.
Yeah, how cute.
Cool. I know.
Maybe we give like hope to his athletes if any of them are like in a relationship.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't talk about it, but yeah.
That's cool. I love that. Like I mentioned earlier, Meg and I have been, best friends since college. We've gone through the highs and the lows of just normal friendship, or what I consider to be normal. And, though we both come from a family primarily, Meg has one brother, but primarily sisters, and I only have one sister. And so even though we both have sisters and that sisterly bond, I'm putting air quotes around that, but I've always, Meg has just always been an honorary sister in my life. I mean, you guys, I made her my matron of honor in my wedding because I just couldn't imagine anybody else standing up there. She is an honorary sister in my life. She knows that. That's not a surprise. And Meg, you have 3 sisters. So, I mean, you don't need another one, but here I am. You don't get a choice.
I don't know. I think maybe at a certain point, you're just like, I'll take all the siblings I can get. Yeah. 1 of 5.
Yeah. You come from a big family.
Yeah.
I think my friendships in my 30s are just the strongest, sturdiest, best friendships I've ever had in my life. And I think a large part of that is because it's who I've chosen and it's who I pour my time and energy into. And the cool thing about my relationship with Meg is this is a relationship that has stood the test of time, 15 years. It's my longest friendship, I would say. And, with some friendships over the years, as you grow, as you change, as you up level, they don't always go forward with you. But I can confidently say that this friendship has. I mean, we've both grown in ways that maybe we didn't anticipate. And we've both gone through, heavy chapters, exciting chapters, hard loss, just a lot of growth. And through it all, I know at the end of the day, we can both come to each other and be our authentic and normal selves, because even though we've grown, we still hold that bond. The growth hasn't torn us apart, or it hasn't come between us. I mean, I feel like if anything, we're closer today than we were back in college in many ways. And it's funny because a lot of the hard stuff, I'll use the example. So Meg struggled with, she went through a pretty tough fertility journey. I don't know what year was that.
3 years before 2018. So started in 2015, and then we had our oldest in 18.
Yeah. So starting in 2015, that's when you and Mike started your fertility journey. And that, I mean, I was in a completely different chapter. That's another thing. Like, we've never really been in the same chapter.
No, we've gone
of our
through like
lives.
very similar experiences, fertility, graduate school, marriage,
Yeah.
job changes, but never ever at the same time. I don't think.
No, I feel that way too. Yeah. But we've been able to support each other through these, like grad school. I didn't even think about grad school. We both went on to grad school, got our masters, not at the same time. Meg married long before I did. Meg started a family, or started trying for a family in 2015. But we're like, what, 2.5 hours apart in distance?
A lifetime, yeah.
Yeah.
1,000,000 miles.
Yeah. There might be some of you out there, listeners, that are like, my friend lives states away. And so you're like, 2.5 hours is nothing, but it is a lot for us, And so it feels like she could be states away sometimes, but it is a lot.
Well, I think when, so Kelly kind of lives, our friend we mentioned earlier, she lives like even closer to you, like a half hour.
Yeah,
Kelly's
a half
like an hour and a half or away or whatever from me. And even that, or like Adam, shout out, another college bestie.
Yeah.
He and his wife are only an hour away from me. And I'm like, we never see each other. Like, shoot, we could like totally make this happen. But with everything that life throws out at you, it just really, like, I don't know, makes it difficult to like find the time.
It does.
Not find the time, make the time, rather.
Yeah. Well, like, you even sent a text in our group chat with Kelly this week, like, I know it's a long shot, but like, what are your plans this weekend? And it's like, that's smart though, because if we don't put it out there, like, when are we going to actually like follow through and plan something?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's like the primary reason we're here is I know, I mean, I'm sure Meg understands this too, but it's hard sometimes to maintain friendship with all the other roles we play in our adult lives. I mean, I'm not a mom yet, but like, I imagine if I was, obviously that role is going to come first and foremost, then my marriage. And so friendships can just fall to the wayside. I feel like they just naturally do. Like, life just gets busy. What makes our friendship work is we understand that. Like, we don't if we don't talk for weeks on end, it's not a big deal. Like, we don't hold it against each other because we just know, we have that common understanding. Like, hey, life gets busy. I get it. You don't have to explain yourself, which is what I feel makes this friendship work as well, is like, we have that understanding.
Well, can I interject really quick?
Yeah, go. Yep.
So I like hear what you're saying. And when I was like thinking about this episode, I was like, our relationship, I feel like the past few years has been super strong and like super, like, we talk every day, probably in some format. It might just be like a Snapchat to keep the fire alive. Yeah. But like, even if it's just that, which we should like tell your listeners what our streak is. Even if it's just that, right? We have been so close the past like year or so. 429 days.
429 days. We worked so hard at that streak.
Well, yeah, because we had one that was like close to a year and lost it. And then, okay.
Did you pay to get it back or something?
Oh, the one time I did. Yeah, when you came to visit. And
that's right.
It was like, it would have been 100 days or something. And we lost it because you were here. And I was like, I'm paying the 99 cents.
Yeah, I remember that. That's funny.
But we lost it before that, too.
Yeah.
We had like, whatever. That does not matter. Edit that out.
That's fine.
Anyway, when I was thinking about like, in preparation for this this podcast episode about our relationship and like how it's kind of ebbed and flowed, like obviously when we were living together, we were seeing each other, talking every day. When I took a semester off from co, we still kept very close by like text. And because of the situation of my dad having terminal cancer, I think there was that like urgency in you to like check on me and take care of me. So like that like helped. Came back, lived together. Then my extra semester at Co, you were in the area. So like you went to homecoming with me. We kept that like college feeling relationship.
Yeah.
And then when I think about like, okay, I got married shortly after school. So 2014.
Yeah.
Then like I went and lived in North Iowa, and there wasn't things like video calling or Snapchat was like not as popular. Yeah. And so like maybe we didn't talk as much, but to your point, we could always come back to each other and there was like no judgment or resentment for like not having reached out, and we were always picking up where we left off.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I can remember when we were like both like kind of newly in the workforce, and we'd like email each other, and it would be like when you could email, you would email, like it would end up being this like huge long book.
I remember that. Oh my gosh, I used to love getting those emails from you. It was like the old version of snail mail, or the new version.
Yeah. But yeah, and it was like, we've talked about this before too. Like a lot of like our friendship is based off of the idea of when you're able to get back to the person. Mm-hmm. So there's no expectations, but then you always know that person isn't going to be there for you too. And like a judgment-free zone. I think like now we're pretty aligned, and when we were in college, we were pretty aligned. We took different paths in between, and there were things I was doing that you like didn't judge me for. You're like, that's not for me, but you do it. And like the same for me. I was like, okay, that's kind of like weird, but like whatever. And now we've kind of like landed pretty similar opinions on things.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Did you know that roughly 75% of the population in the United States is not meeting the recommended daily intake of magnesium that our bodies need? Mind-blowing, right? I felt that way too. I had no idea just how important magnesium was for our bodies and our mental health until I delved into the world of integrative health as a result of my fertility journey. 2 years into our fertility journey, I connected with an integrative health practitioner who completely opened my eyes, you guys. Through a bunch of at-home lab work, I actually found out I was deficient in magnesium, which not a big surprise now looking back. On top of taking an organic magnesium supplement, my practitioner actually had highly recommended I use topical magnesium. She specifically recommended Good Night Lotion from Earthly Wellness. I had used a few of Earthly's products before this, and I loved the company and what it stood for. So honestly, I had no doubt in my mind that this product would be a good addition to my daily routine. At this point in the fertility journey, honestly, I was just willing to try anything to help. When the lotion arrived, I made it a part of my nightly routine to put it on my arms, my stomach, and legs every single night before going to bed. The first night I used it, you guys, I noticed a huge difference in how I slept that night. It was amazing. I fell asleep faster than normal. I stayed asleep longer. In general, there was less interrupted sleep patterns from night to night. It was truly incredible, the difference that this lotion made on me. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to these testimonies of other individuals who have seen success from using Earthly's Goodnight Lotion. One testimony says, I use Earthly's Goodnight Lotion almost every night and I absolutely love it. Another says, I have always used magnesium to help me fall asleep. So when I first used the Goodnight Lotion, I fell in love. It smells so good, feels soft and light on your skin, and keeps me asleep all night. The secret to getting a good night's sleep is truly to intake more magnesium, you guys. Magnesium actually does way more than just promote healthy sleep though. It also is a natural detox for your body. It helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels and supports your gut health too. And then another benefit from using it topically is that the nourishing oils and butters that are in it moisturize your skin while the body is absorbing the magnesium quickly. Amazing. In addition to these primary benefits, there's also so many other benefits that you receive just from getting a good night's sleep, like better overall functioning during the day, more restful sleep throughout the night, so then you perform better at work the next day, overall improved mental health, more physical stamina. I mean, I could go on and on, you guys. So be honest with yourself. Could you stand to improve your sleep habits? We all could. I would never recommend something that I myself haven't used and trusted long term. I've been using this lotion for 4 years now. The benefits continue to help me. In the 6 years of our fertility journey, I have worked with multiple integrative health practitioners who all recommend Earthly Wellness products to me, and they all swear by them too. The Good Night Lotion is just one of many quality, clean, non-toxic products that Earthly has to offer. And honestly, that's another amazing benefit of ordering through Earthly, is that all of their products are completely clean, non-toxic, which means they have absolutely no parabens, no phthalates, no fragrances, no preservatives, no allergens of any kind like corn, soy, gluten, dairy, or nuts, no junk at all in their products. And if you're like me and you're trying to rid your home of toxic products, then Earthly truly is your go-to place to shop. As a mental health therapist in a small rural county in eastern Iowa, I recommend this product constantly to clients who disclose that they struggle to get good sleep or if they suffer from insomnia. I always suggest trying something holistic before using any kind of medication or something that the body can become addicted to. That way you don't have to worry about experiencing any side effects as a result. Another great thing about this product, you guys, and why I suggest it to clients left and right, is that it can be used on adults and kids alike. That's an added bonus for sure. If any of what I shared resonates with you and you want to purchase this product or any other Earthly wellness products, check them out through my affiliate marketing link, which I'll link in the show notes of today's episode. Also, for a limited time, if you're a first-time user of Earthly products, you can get a discount using code CHOOSENATURAL. That'll give you a 10% discount off your first order. Again, if you didn't hear it the first time, use code CHOOSENATURAL, that's in all caps, and you'll get that 10% discount on your order. If you're a returning customer of Earthly's and would also like a discount, for a limited time only, I'm offering the code COMEBACK to get 10% off your order as well. Again, the code is in all caps, COMEBACK, COMEBACK. Improve your sleep today, feel better mentally, physically, emotionally. Seriously consider making Earthly Wellness a part of your health journey today, you guys. You will not regret it. All links will be in my show notes for today's episode if you're interested.
For listeners who also have long distance friendships, whether they're best friends or not, let's talk about how we maintain that. I mean, you've always been 2.5 hours from me, because even when you lived in Mason, that was also a 2.5 hour drive, just in the opposite direction. So we've never been closer than 2.5 hours from each other, except for at Co. And yeah, so initially it was a lot of texting and emails, and then phone dates in between to maintain that friendship. And then, Snapchat became a thing. Snapchat videos became a thing. Yeah, we've done that for what seems like forever. I send Meg my daily, outfit of the day snaps, and then videos became a thing. And since I don't have an iPhone, we can't do FaceTime. So we send each other currently, a regular thing is we send each other snap videos. I'll just get on when I have time in the day, and I might vent about something in my day, or might update her on how my day is going or what we're doing for the evening or whatever. And she does the same. And it's not I have to listen to this right now. It's when I have time, I'm going to listen to that so that I can send one in response type of thing. It's never a rushed. And then, we text a lot, and we try to lately we've been trying once a week to fit in a phone date at least once a week if we can.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things once you start doing it more regularly, then you have the habit of doing it. With exercising or eating healthy, once you start actually doing it, it's going to become a rhythm for you.
Yeah.
Which I think is why we're more closely connected now, is because we've gotten in that rhythm of whatever works. And the videos are such they mean so much more to me than the emails, I think. Yeah. Or I shouldn't say that. At the time, the emails meant a lot. But in today, having that option means more. We often feel with our friends and pretty much anyone outside of you, other than people I work with, I don't share those random little things. I think I was sending you a video the other day when I got a new laptop at work and stuff wasn't working. I was this is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And those little connections for me make all the difference in the world. It takes that 2.5 hours and makes it disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. I have learned about Meg in the last, 6 months to a year, that there's probably not a lot of people that know this, but Meg has gotten into this phase in her life where she now like loves watching birds. And I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known that about her if she didn't send me these random Snap videos with, and
I'm like, look at this white-breasted nuthatch.
Yeah, she can name them, and it's weird, but it's cool. Like, I wouldn't know that about you, you know? It's
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another fun fact, Meg, something I learned about her in college, she loves dinosaurs, and she can name dinosaurs. Like, not just the most common ones, you guys. Like, hashtag nerd fact about Meg.
No one cares.
I like that about you.
But it's so sweet because then like our kids have this like matching dinosaur game and they'll be like, oh, look, I got the Ankylosaurus, but it's like in their little toddler voice, which is like, just my heart.
Well, science says that if kids know the names of dinosaurs, that their IQ should be higher. So I think that's a good thing. Hopefully. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. Like there's little things throughout our day that nobody else hears about that I don't tell anybody else, but I might send a quick video to Meg or Snap video to Meg and share it with her. And it's just how we stay connected day in and day out. So we share all of that to say, be unique with how you keep the connection alive in your friendships. Because life gets busy. Like nobody is more busy than anybody else. We all are busy. We're all juggling a lot. But if that relationship is important to you, which it's easy for me to say this is a relationship that I will intentionally continue to pour into because she's been there for me through my hardest moments, the best moments. Like I have to keep pouring into this because I want that to still be there down the road. And so look at your relationships, look at your friendships, the ones that you want to continue to grow and move forward with you. Those are the ones you need to pour into. And so literally, like, you have to be unique with how you pour into it. And you might not be able to do a weekly phone date. You might not be able to tap or text them daily, but snap them, do the iPhone FaceTime, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, every friendship is going to be unique. Every relationship is unique, and you have to learn, like, you can't just, like, what's easy for you might not, like, have, like, that person's style of communication or, like, how they're going to, like, mirror pouring in. Because I feel like you and I both can, like, dump into relationships continually, and, like, maybe we don't always get that back. And then for me, when I'm not getting it back, eventually I'll just stop. So, like, find a way that works for the person you're wanting to better that relationship with.
Yeah. No, I could see why you say that. I'm more like, if the relationship feels just very like superficial or surface level for me, I just stop pouring into it. Or if you're going to drag me down energetically, and then I just stop pouring into it. Mm-hmm. But
So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like, even if the other person is like giving something back, if it's not matching your energy, you don't have to maintain that.
I always go back to the quote, look at, I don't know the exact words, but like, look at the 5 people you spend the most time around, or the 5 people that you talk to the most, or the 5 people that you're closest to. And you are going to be most like those 5 people. So, I mean, like, I'm honored. Like, my future version is hopefully Meg. Like, that's, I would like to be Meg as a mom, so, pour into those relationships. And life gets busy, family, job, career, like all those things pull us away from our relationships. But again, like in today's world with all the different social media apps that are out there, be unique with how you maintain it. I mean, if email is your thing, I used to love coming to work when I worked at the school. I used to love, like, first thing I would do in the mornings, I would respond to Meg's email. And that was like the best way to start my day. And I'd read hers. And I mean, I probably spent more time than I should have doing that, but like, whatever, like that was a great way to start my day every day. So just be easy.
Before we like get too far past you saying like, I'm a future version of you. Like, I feel the same way. Like, you have like moved mountains to get to where you are at. And I know I tell you this all the time, but like, seriously, I'm so in awe. And like, never in a million years would I have thought like my college roommate who didn't know the difference between a peach and a pear being like so successful and just like living her best life, like being her own boss. Like, you are like straight up inspirational. So
that's very sweet of you. I forgot about that until you brought that up. It's so funny what you remember from each other, like our college years about each other, like what becomes a core memory and what doesn't. Like, it's just so funny to me. A peach and a pear. I have come a long ways, listeners. I do now know the difference. So I have come a long ways.
In the past 15 years, I have learned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's too funny. So I do.
Wait,
go ahead.
Speaking of core memories, so when I was thinking about our friendship, I was like thinking about these like light bulb memories. And so like hitting the deer was one, obviously.
Yeah.
Another one, I won't share this person's name, but there was this guy at Co who I was like in love with. And I think he probably, I do think he loved me. We never dated. And he came to our dorm room to talk to me about like, he was only to leave Co. And this is like, college is wild. You are in our dorm room, which is this tiny box. He and I are having this extremely personal, private conversation.
It wasn't.
And you're just like, and you're just like sitting there at your computer. Like, what do? Do you get up and leave? Do you just stay there? And you like started playing songs by Gary Allen.
I was playing the soundtrack. Like if we were in a movie in that moment, I was playing the soundtrack for the really intense moment.
To a T, with like the country music artist this guy and I at a time like both were like really into. And I was like probably crying. I think he had eyes. He laughed and I was like, that was awesome. You did such a good job with your music selection. Like it did not go unnoticed.
Oh my gosh. So funny.
And I'm like, that for some reason that's such like a light bulb moment. I think that like speaks to our friendship. Like you knew like how to handle that situation in a way that like was respectful of like my boundaries. And when you were like probably like 2 feet away from me, had a role even though he had no idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Oh, so many. You're having me think about so many core memories. You brought up the deer. Yeah. Meg and I were in a car accident, hit a deer. I was driving. Hit a deer. We were coming back to Co from meeting up with my mom. I know I was going 70 miles per hour and we hit the deer head on. Like I didn't have time to hit the brakes and it sent us straight into the ditch. And Meg was calm. You appeared calm. I was freaking out. Like I was like borderline having an anxiety attack. That was scary. There's so many core memories. The one that just always, like when I go back to our college years, the big one that stands out in my mind is, like Meg mentioned earlier, her dad got diagnosed with brain cancer. It was terminal. We all like rallied to support her through that. Unfortunately, she ended up having to go home to help take care of him. And then he passed away. It was just a really, really heavy time. I mean, when you're in college, you know, when you think about college, you think about partying and, you know, maybe working. I worked a lot, you know, in classes and socializing and all the things, but you don't think about burying a parent. And so that was like a huge like wake up call, I felt like, because at that age, again, you don't think about having to do something like that. And I just feel like we had such a great friend group at that time and we all just really like rallied. We came to Grinnell to see Meg. We went to her dad's benefit. I feel like we like got to know your family really well through all of that. But that was a really heavy, hard season for you. It was hard also because you got into such a groove with school and you had to make the extremely difficult decision to take I mean, I remember it being so hard for you to decide.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Like looking back, like I would have done nothing different. But when I went and met my academic advisor, he was like, would your dad want you to do this? Would he want you to take a semester off? Like you only live like an hour and a half away. What if you did Tuesday, Thursday classes? You could stay on schedule. And like news flash Dwight, I will throw his name out there, throw him under the bus. Graduating on time is like leaving a party at 9 and that's not my style. Even though I graduated in 8 semesters. So I had this like authority figure, this professor telling me like maybe this wasn't the best decision. And I really had to think about like in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, what would I be okay with? And that's such a heavy thing to put on. I think I was 21, a 20-year-old, 20, I think. And I turned 21 while I was home. But yeah, to your point, our friend group was amazing. And it did bring us closer, right? Like I had friends like Casey, Kyle Cassidy, like wasn't really friends like with you guys, but then I think through that we ended up all kind of hanging out. And the same with Adam, like he was a standalone friend, but like through this of you guys like coming together to really support me and like provide comfort, we all just kind of became like this like hodgepodge group of people that hung out.
Yeah, that was a really heavy time, but yeah, it's a good example of like it did bring us all a lot closer together. And then like when I think post college,
wait, are we going to talk about the other thing that happened in college?
Wasn't that your senior year?
No, when you got engaged.
Yeah, that's where.
I mean, like, if you listen,
I guess it wasn't post college. Yeah.
No, we were in Voorhees.
Yeah, I was thinking it was after that, but no, we came back. We were coming back to college it was my full senior year. Your
like one junior semester, one senior semester.
Yeah. I had gotten engaged to my then boyfriend over the summer. Well, actually, it happened the weekend before coming back.
Right before, yeah.
Yeah, when he proposed, because we were celebrating my birthday, and that's when he proposed to me. Leading up to that, Meg was a huge supporter of that relationship. I mean, she liked him. I mean,
yeah,
it was fine.
I liked him a lot. I feel like he and I could have like hung out independently and been fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, again, we're living in a box, and so our boyfriends came around a lot. It's what happens. They spend the night. I mean, it's what happens. Yeah. And then she saw the switch that happened. I talk about this in a previous episode, actually. So I talk about healthy and toxic relationships in one of my early solo episodes. So if that's something you want to hear more about, because I'm not going to get into it deep here, but go ahead and go listen to that episode. But yeah, she saw the switch happen where he, leading up to the engagement, was just this amazing human being. And then afterwards, it was a switch. I don't know how else to explain it.
Like a literal switch was flipped in him, and he completely changed his personality
obsessive.
Outlook.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like he couldn't trust me for whatever reason. Come to find out it was probably because he was cheating. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, there's just like, and she supported me through that. I mean, that's another one of those like hard-ish moments though in our friendship, because she was seeing this not healthy relationship play out in front of her, and her opinion of him was changing, and obviously wanting to support me and be a good friend that she is. Like, you don't want your friend to be in an unhealthy or toxic relationship. But yeah, I was engaged. I mean, he proposed. I said yes. We were planning a wedding. And that was when Pinterest became a hot thing.
Yeah, you introduced me to Pinterest, so thank you.
Yeah, because I was planning the wedding on there, yeah.
Yeah, so like what this like is leading up to is like probably like still like in the top like 5 hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life. And our Voorhees room was even smaller than like our Douglas room. So like when Steph says a box, like a literal box.
Yeah.
And one day I just was like, hey, I'm not saying I think you should break up with Nick, but I think you guys need to postpone the wedding. Like, your relationship's not healthy. You need to sort some stuff out. And we did not talk for like 2 weeks.
It was awkward.
Living in a tiny box.
Yeah, it was awkward. It's like one of those young adult moments where I think I knew I wasn't in a good situation, but I wasn't yet mentally in a place where I was ready to cut like ties with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think like probably our age did play a part, but I think that happens in any relationship, that especially where for so long before it was so good, you're just going to have blinders up instantly when those red flags do start to rise, because you had years of there being no red flags.
Yeah. But I think it speaks volumes of Meg that she felt comfortable saying that when
Oh, girl, I was not comfortable.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. Like you just embrace the discomfort. But I think if you have a friend who's willing to be honest with you about something like that, because often when we're in the inside, we don't see it. Like, we do have blinders on. So if it's somebody that you trust and somebody that always has your best interest at heart, then you need to take that seriously when they share something like that with you. And I didn't initially, because like I said, I was still I didn't see it from her perspective yet. And I mean, I saw it wasn't healthy, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't yet ready to cut.
Yeah,
ties.
it was another time in my life for me where I was like, in 5-10 years, like, what am I going to be comfortable with? Like, if I lose Steph as a friend over this, like, is that worse, or is it worse for me not to speak my piece and like try to help her see what I see, and then have a burst, and then so she ends up in this relationship that's like super unhealthy, and like, so I keep my mouth shut, I stand up in your wedding, whatever, and then it just gets worse and worse. Like, at what point in time am I like no longer okay with that?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And those moments though, even though they might have felt icky for you, and like, I know I've had moments that have felt really icky for me, and we've overcome those, and we've, instead of letting them create a wedge in our relationship, we've let them, like, the relationship has grown because of those moments. And that speaks volumes for the individuals that we are. But yeah, I think ultimately, like, we've just let these moments truly grow our friendship in ways that, like, I definitely didn't anticipate. And even then, when I was like planning that wedding, I didn't go through with it. Spoiler alert. Again, go back and listen to that solo episode. But yeah, the plan was for Meg to be my then maid of honor. And that was I had made that decision even after Meg had told me that.
Oh, like, I kept my position.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just feel like we've worked through, we've gone through so much together. And like, I know I mentioned early on, like, Meg went through a 3-year fertility journey to get pregnant with her first child, JoJo. And it, for somebody like, cause I wasn't in that chapter yet in my life. I think I was not even with Mitch yet. Until 2015. We met late in 2015. And so, you know, I was trying to support Meg through this tough fertility journey. I mean, obviously the first year is just kind of like the first year, but then.
Yeah. Like, so for us, the first year was really more of like not preventing and like maybe like tracking ovulation, which I don't know, like, once it like starts to stack up.
Yeah.
I count that in like the infertility or fertility years. At the time, I was just like, oh, whatever. Like, it was a year. Like, now we'll get like actual help.
Right. Yeah.
And I think, like, to your point of like you not being in that stage of your life, even outside of that, fertility issues is like, for some reason, is a dirty word.
Yeah.
And so during our journey, like, I really tried to be like open and honest and get it out there. And it was unbelievable to me the amount of people who'd reach out and say like, oh, I went through the same thing. Or I had family members who like nobody knew, like a second cousin, and my mom had babysat for these kids. And she's like, I didn't know they had to like get help to have those kids. And so many people were like, oh, I'm going through this too. And like, all your posts like really make me feel like I'm not alone. So then, like, how do you support somebody who's like, not to say like I was like breaking edge with like sharing fertility issues, obviously not, but when it isn't a topic that's talked about even among older people, how do you do that when you're not in that stage? But you were so sweet and kind and understanding.
Yeah, I think we, you know, like, our faith played a big role in that. I mean, for you, your faith obviously played a big role, but that's something that initially brought us together, was we both had this foundation personally in our lives with faith. Like, Meg grew up in was it Baptist? In a Baptist household. I grew up in a Methodist household. So, you know, we grew up having knowledge of the Bible. We grew up reading the Bible. We grew up, you know, with prayer and going to church, and thank God for that foundation in our personal lives. And also thank God that we can talk to each other about that. Like, that was just a normal thing we would talk about together, whether it was when we were in college, or especially like when her dad was sick. And then, when she's going through the fertility journey, like, I didn't know what that felt like at the time. And so I just kept going back to like, rely on your faith, like, give it all to God. And I mean, that was just what I kept going back to, I feel like, because.
Yeah. And I think like knowing people are praying for you is so powerful. And knowing they are praying for you like in a specific way is even more powerful. Which, like I've said since we got pregnant with JoJo, like there was this benefit of us having this long fertility journey of so many people were invested in this baby that wasn't even a thing yet. Right. And so like this group of people that were either like maybe in my Bible study in Grinnell or like you and your connections, and just like across the country, it ends up being people from Mason City because I had moved back at this point in time. We're praying for this specific child that was not even there yet. And I was like, this is so powerful. And then when we got pregnant, like the excitement of this answered prayer was really an awesome thing to experience.
Yeah. If you guys knew JoJo, you would know she's a pretty special human too. I mean,
And
she's Meg's mini me. It's so cute. She's
long curly hair.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. And in the time, I remember at the time, like, you sometimes saying like, we don't understand why we go through this, and maybe someday I'll understand. And now I feel like I can say, well, thank God you did, because you are my go-to person now in my journey. Cause like sometimes you just feel like you can only go to somebody who's lived it themselves or is currently living it. And so, yeah, there are days like I only want to go to somebody who has also gone through the wait, whatever that wait was for you. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter if it was a 1-year wait, a 2-year wait, a 3-year wait, longer. Like if you've gone through the wait, that is important to me, because you know better than most what I am feeling or going through in my current journey. And so even though I wouldn't wish the weight on anyone, I always go back to like, we're going through those lessons for a reason. So to me, it means I haven't learned what I needed to learn yet, whether it be patience or surrender or whatever. I don't feel I've learned that yet. And so I'm trying to master that as we speak. But it helps that Meg has gone through it, because she is now one of my primary supports as I myself am going through the fertility journey. And it's great that she understands the emotions, the highs and the lows that go with this journey. And I think you grew in your faith and your journey. And I think spiritually, I've grown just more than I ever anticipated in my journey. Which, yeah, we should talk about. Like that's something interesting, I think, because yeah, we grew up with each having like faith in our childhood homes, but even though like we have these different, I don't want to say like spiritual beliefs, but like I am very much, I'm proud to admit, like I am very much woo-woo. Like I am all about like, let's talk about manifestation. And I see the connection between like when the Bible talks about like prayers being answered, I really connect that with manifestation nowadays and all the things. And Meg is open to it, which is so great.
Yeah. So like, I think to your point, like we both started out, I'll use the word religious.
Yeah.
Which I think like religion is man-made, but and I think we did have a personal relationship with like our higher power, which at the time like was God for both of us.
Agreed.
I think there was that personal connection, and we did have like spirituality at the time.
Yeah.
As we have grown up, you got there way quicker than I did into the woo-woo, but I kind of have like a foot in both camps. And it's so nice because like when you were like way more off in the deep end and I was still pretty like close to like, no, the Bible is exactly what it said. It's not really open for interpretation. You didn't judge me for like still being like believing that like somebody was actually swallowed by a whale,
right.
Which I like no longer. And now I'm like, that's just a parable.
No, but I get it.
But I also wasn't like judging you for like one thing I haven't like fully gotten on board with is like mediums. Like I don't necessarily believe in that, but like I'm like whatever. Like if it works for you, like great.
Absolutely.
Like, if it works for you, make it great. And I think to the point of like the broader topic of this episode, support your friends in whatever way you can. Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with everything. If they aren't hurting themselves or someone else, what does it matter?
Exactly. Yeah. Like whether it be political views, spiritual views, religious views, like it really doesn't. Like you can do you and also support her, he, them, whatever. You can still support them.
So much. Like to your point, like people who have issues with pronouns, because you said then. are you kidding? Like, what does it take for you to say them instead of he or she?
Right.
Nothing. And it means so much to that individual. And I'm like, if you, especially for people who like claim Christianity as their faith, it just blows my mind how unloving Christians are, which is like part of the reason I've really stepped away from like religion, if you will, and have moved into like this individual spirituality. And I still like believe in like God and not necessarily like a higher power. I think there is like, you know, Yahweh.
Agreed.
But I don't care if people have like a higher power. Great. Good for them.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's what makes this friendship work too is, we haven't always had the exact same views, but it's okay. Like we very much can hold space for each other, which is a skill that not everybody has or can do, but we very much do hold space for each other. And yeah, that's fine. If you believe in that and that works for you, that's literally how Meg's always been. And I'm appreciative of that because I'm getting so like my spiritual health has just like catapulted lately. And I know that some of the like crazy, I'm not going to say crazy, but some of the like out there synchronicities that I've experienced, I know I can call Meg and be like, OMG, listen to this. And to somebody who doesn't have a spiritual like belief system foundation might listen to some of my stories and be like, you are reading way too into that. But Meg is like, yeah, like that's amazing. You know, like she's here for it. She's listening. It might not be something she completely buys into, but like she gets excited with me. So I sometimes don't even know the difference if she's
until the end of the conversation. I'm like,
Yep.
And even if this isn't real.
Yeah, exactly.
My little caveat.
Yeah, but it doesn't make me feel any different. Like it doesn't change because I am like solidified in my beliefs and Meg is solidified in her beliefs. So it doesn't like we don't encourage the other to change or feel any different, but we again, we hold space for them where they're at in their journey, in their spiritual health, and that speaks volumes, I think. And yeah, there's just so many like great things that make this friendship work. I feel like we've shared a lot of great tips with listeners, a lot of great like nuggets of information. Is there anything that you feel like I'm leaving out or anything friendship wise that you think makes this relationship work that listeners need to?
Okay, to answer your question, I don't think there is anything that we haven't talked about that like your listeners would really like grab a hold of. I think the highlights for me is, and you like recently said this, right? Hold space. I think that's such a good verbiage around what we have done our entire friendship. Hold space for that person, like reach out to them, what works for them. I don't know if you've had time to watch that emotional intelligence, like LinkedIn training thing I shared with you.
Oh, I looked into it. Yeah.
So like, I think you and I both have extremely high emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And so when I did this training for work, I was like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm really going to get out of it. But it reminded me not everybody has it so easy. And some people have to like work at it. So like either work on your EQ or like if you feel like you are a higher EQ person, like remember not everybody's there and work to where they are.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's funny you actually say that because lately I've been mentally reminding myself instead of judging like certain other people's relationships, I've been reminding myself like, hey, just because your relationship with Mitch comes naturally to you and you don't have to quote work at it as hard as other people do, doesn't mean everybody else has it that way. Like,
yes,
I think we're lucky in that way. Even you and Mike, like, do we have to work at it? Yes, but work, like not the traditional sense of the word work. Like I feel our relationship comes very natural to us.
Yeah, I think because of who we are, it's not as hard, but like not everybody has like the same outlook. So it would be harder to them to get to like where we are. So when my two older sisters were in town recently, we went for a walk and there's this area in Grinnell that is affectionately called divorce court because people always end up splitting up who like live. It's like super nice houses.
Wow.
And so we were walking through there. And so then of course, like you get talking about like who's in what house and what happened. And my sisters knew way more tea than I did. And I was like, I am just so happy that I'm married to like my best friend. Like,
Yes.
I cannot imagine having like the things they were sharing, having that happen.
Yeah.
But you have to work for that person to be your best friend. You can't just like
Yeah.
live together and have it happen. Or like you and I, we can't live 2.5 hours apart and not put effort in. So put the effort in. I guess this is a takeaway. Put the effort in.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think sometimes I have to remind myself of that. So I like don't get too much of a, like too much pride, I guess I should say. Like I need to humble myself a little bit. Like, yeah, the relationship doesn't look and feel like yours, but like yours just because Mitch and I are who we are, like it comes a little more naturally. But and hearing you say that like also makes me think, I feel like I'm going down a couple different rabbit holes, but it makes me think like, and I want listeners to know this too, like I have a lot of respect for Mike because he's gone through some hard stuff in his young adult life or up until now. I feel he's gone through a lot of hard stuff. And I just feel like he comes off still like he is just such a strong person, mentally, emotionally, maybe sometimes too strong, but he comes off like he's such a strong person and he is such an amazing father. And I just think you would never look at him and guess that he's gone through the hard stuff he's gone through.
Yeah, he has quite a few personal things that I won't go into detail, but he lost both of his parents within a few years of each other. Somewhat recently, and
childhood trauma, you know, yeah.
And yeah, if you look at him, what you see is an extremely successful man in his field. He has been, a few years ago, was named like the best athletic trainer in the state of Iowa, and he is fantastic at his job, and his students feel comfortable coming to him for all sorts of issues, and he does a really good job. His diagnoses are oftentimes correct. He's always nervous when he has to send someone to the doctor, but more often than not, the doctor confirms what he thought.
Awesome.
And he's a great coworker. And then on top of that, like still like when he's home, like I'm so spoiled. Not only does he cook me dinner, and like my boss's boss can't believe this, but Mike will plate my dinner and bring it to me.
I love that.
And like, I know that's like insane, but it's just like almost now an expectation.
I love that.
Yeah, it is so sweet. And as a follow-up, I think you and I both kind of lucked out because Mike and I were so young when we got together. Who would have known? And we have definitely like encountered things in our young married life that not a lot of people, even in their 50s, necessarily have gone through. And have overcome it. But you and Mitch had not been together very long at all when you broke your neck. And I had like liked him before that. Right. And then he took such good care of you. And for me, that like meant so much because I couldn't be there. I couldn't do those things. It was soon enough after having graduated college. I think I still felt like a responsibility of taking care of you.
Well, side note, Meg was our, you can't see me doing air quotes, but Meg was our mom. Like she played that role for me in college. And I say that because like every time I got sick, there was one specific time when we had we're going down a rabbit hole again. One specific time when we had our beds hanging from the rafters, like hanging chains from the rafters. And I felt sick to my stomach and I knew I was going to throw up and I told her I was going to throw up and I threw up literally like projectile over the side of the bed onto our awesome pink carpet. And Meg like rushed me to the bathroom and I think I threw up again in the hallway. Yeah, she was always like the mom of our friend group though. I mean,
yeah. And then, but like Mitch took over for me so seamlessly. And you guys had not been together very long. And he just like jumped in both feet, did everything for you. But the thing that like pushed it over the edge is like he took care of me. He would keep me updated. He let me know how you were doing. And like we didn't know each other because of the distance. He and I had not had time to interact. And to this day, like I will forever be grateful to that man for what he did for you during that time. And like he is just like he and I like are more similar minded, like corporate minded, and not too far into the woo woo. I'm probably in more than he is, but I know you're like rubbing off
He's
on
definitely
him.
open. Yeah.
Yeah. And, well, because like what we talking about stuff, and you're like, that's exactly what Mitch said.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm like,
always.
Bet, like, thank you for like being me for her.
For real, that's so funny. Yeah, I married my best friend. Yeah, that's true though.
Mitch Meg.
It's ironic because as we're recording this, 2 days ago was the 8-year anniversary of me breaking my neck, which is crazy.
Neckiversary.
My neckiversary. Yeah, we always try and celebrate it because it's like not to get morbid, but like they were told that I was either going to be paralyzed or I could have died, but that's why I was airlifted. So anyways, I digress. Yeah, that was
There's an episode on that.
There is. Yeah, go back and listen to the episodes on that. Actually, you should. I've gotten some really great feedback on them. Actually, I've heard it's really hard for some people to listen to, but I think it's just because I'm raw and honest about what happened from what's been told to me. But
I do have to say, like at that point in time, I had like lost my dad. What year was it? 15.
Well, I met Mitch in 15. It happened the following summer, so 16. Because we were only together 9
so
months.
I had like kind of been going through my fertility journey by that point.
Yes.
Living away, I was in graduate school, so I had all these stressors. And like I think you always think like, yep, I've been through it. Yep, I lost my dad. Like I know, like I can handle life now.
Yeah.
And your dad happened to post something on Facebook, and we were on the way home. Well, from Grinnell to Mason City, where we lived at the time. And like, I had to have Mike pull over, and I had to like go into this Walmart and like splash water on my face. I was like so shook up over your dad's post. And I was like, you aren't ever going to be ready for what life throws at you. But to your point of it being a hard episode, if you have gone through something like that, or if you're like close to stuff, like reliving it is like, you're like, oh my gosh, that was like a really hard time.
Yeah, trigger warning, it might make you cry. I had multiple friends say as they listened to it, they had to pull over because they were crying. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was going to impact you in that way. But yeah, it was a scary time for sure. I don't remember it. So for me, it just feels like I'm telling a story, and it's not.
I don't care.
Yeah, like I am sympathetic to it. I don't want you to think I'm not. I just don't recall much of it. Yeah, there's a lot I wanted to say that you had mentioned there. When you mentioned Mitch is very similar to you, I actually had a therapist tell me, one of my first therapists, tell me that I married the guy I always deserved, and I got the father I never had with Mitch. And I was
my God.
Holy shit, that could not be more true. Like, yeah, he really has been amazing. And I know that, yeah, in so many ways he's like Meg, which is so bizarre to think, but you know, it's not that bizarre in the grand scheme of things. It's not.
Yeah, for like how well we click.
Yeah,
and like how well you guys click. You and Mike are like nothing alike, but you get along, so that's all that matters.
That's true too. But another thing that I like about our relationship along these lines is Meg and I very much, since meeting Mitch, I never wanted to be the woman that goes to her girlfriends and bitches about her husband. Like I told Mitch from day one that if I'm going to complain about you, I will say behind your back what I would also say to your face. Mm-hmm. And I have really stuck to that because what I don't like is just that energy of like all the wives getting together and bitching about their husbands and what they don't do and what they do wrong. And it's like, I don't like that energy. So if there's a problem, I'll tell you first, but just know I'll also probably go and tell Meg or my other close friends.
Yeah. So you mentioned this, I think, in a recent episode about or maybe we were on the phone. So like, honestly, like sometimes like I confuse the few because like, your podcast just feel like a phone call to me.
Yeah, I bet.
And they're like the same amount of time, like an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
But I was like, that's another reason I think you and I get along so well. Cause like, that's my same vibe too. Is like Mike and I have had our issues for sure, but they're no one else's business.
Right.
Does that mean I haven't gone to like my sisters or my mom for advice, or have I not like vented to you briefly about something? Yes, I have.
Right.
Also though, those same things I say straight to his face. Like, please close the freaking cupboard doors when you are done with him. Please, like whatever, you know, it's not. And I think you and I both like at the end of like complaining will like make it better by like, but he's still really good and I love him and da 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 da.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what like we can complain about our husbands, but it's never like in bad, negative energy. And also there's never that judgment on each other's spouses because we get it. I mean, nobody's perfect. It's completely non-judgmental.
Yeah, like you and I are able to share things with each other and it doesn't like change the way we view the other person's partner. No. Which I think is hard. Like sometimes when I hear things from my friends about their partners, especially if it's someone I've been really close to, I get so frustrated on their behalf, and sometimes it's hard for me to let that go. Sure. But I think you and I have built this culture of like respect that doesn't happen with us. So there's another hot take.
Yeah. Being non-judgmental goes a long ways, let me tell you, because we all have our faults. We all have our issues, our vices. So it's not fair to hold it against each other. And marriage is harder for some people than others sometimes. So, well, if there's nothing else that you want to share, I like to end all my collabs, as you know, with rapid fire questions.
Yes.
So, Meg, what is a book that you are currently reading?
Oh, that's funny. I just told you last night I finished the book I did not care for.
What was it called?
The Bluest Eye.
The Bluest Eye?
So it's a book from like the 70s. And I think I would have liked it more in an academic setting. So The Bluest Eye is by Toni Morrison. And the book is basically about, so it's a person of color. She's a Black child and she wants blue eyes. So it kind of talks about like internal racism, which is like a new topic I have learned in the past few years.
Yeah.
And then just like basically the damaging effect of societal standards on this person. Sure. But how the book was written, like the intonation is not the right word, but like it just like wasn't my vibe. And I was like, if I was sitting in a class, like if Lisa Barnett was teaching this, I probably would have loved it. Yeah. But like one of our sociology professors. But I just like could not get into it. But what I'm reading right now, 2 chapters in, is called The Fourth Wing. And this is something you learned about me recently. This book like has dragons in it, and you did not know I was into that type of stuff. And I was like, wow.
Which, I mean, we don't have similar book interests, right? I mean, some, but
I feel like, so all of my entertainment, I'm so wide open. So like, yeah, because that's like you're a badass at making money, and like those books, those self-help books, I really like those, and you do too. And I feel like there's some other ones that we have like overlapped on. Yeah. But I read like everything.
Yeah. You don't really have like a genre that you stick to. Whereas like I'm in my like primarily self-help books right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think I come back to like my landing place is like probably like romance, because like,
oh sure,
what mom of 2 in her mid 30s is that not her landing place? Right. But yeah, so I read like science fantasy, I read self-help books, I'm trying to go back through and like read some classics. So like this book was one that I've wanted to read for a long time.
Love that. You're so good about getting reading in, which for moms is hard, I imagine.
So my cheat is audiobooks, which I don't only listen to audiobooks. But probably like 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, physical book. I want to turn the page. Absolutely. And then I kind of went to ebooks so I could like have it with me wherever I went. Yeah. And then I had a lull in podcasts a few years ago. And so I did an audiobook. And I was like, this is amazing. I can fold laundry. I can do the dishes. Yes. I can, like, when I'm taking the dog for a walk. Yeah. So that's my cheat.
Oh, yeah, I think good, though.
How many books do you think I've read so far this year?
Oh, this year? Oh, yeah. We're halfway through. So 15 books?
More than that.
18.
31.
What? I was thinking 3 a month. Wow. That's impressive. 31. I feel like moms everywhere. Like, I like the tip of audiobooks because that's a good tip for busy moms that want to read.
Yeah. And like, so for a lot of people, they can't do it because it's one person narrating, and that's just like too boring.
Right.
Which like I get, like if you're driving, I probably would not care for an audiobook.
Well, and some people get hung up on the voice. Like if it's like, I had one person tell me like it was a English accent. And they were like, I just couldn't. And I was like,
yes, I have
would
had
love
that too, where I've been like, nope, I'm not listening to this person. And I switched to like the E format because I'm like, this is not.
Yeah.
One of the books my husband, Mike, wanted me to read was like, so his favorite book was Red Rising. And I started it as a ebook, and then like that loan expired, but the audio version was open. So I switched to the audio, and the guy had a Scottish accent. And I was like, this is not what I've been hearing in my head.
Wow. That's funny. I love that. Okay. What is one thing that you can't live without besides your phone?
If anyone knows me, they know probably my daily contacts. Oh, so like I have contacts, but they're like, you wear them just a day and take them out. So I've heard you ask this question before to other people, and it has got me thinking, because like you can't say your family or your dog, whatever.
I know.
Like, you have to, like,
you would though. You would say your kids. I feel like. If you
1,000% my family. Yeah.
Right.
And
you really need your contacts.
Right. And like I love them so much more than glasses, and the dailies have been better for me than like the monthly contacts. But so like this shows like how insane I am and like intrusive thoughts. I always wonder about like when people get like kidnapped, if they have their contacts in, like, well, probably most of the time you die soon, which is sad. But for people who don't, like, well, how does that work?
That's a good point. I've never thought about that. And
yes,
your twisted mind would think about
it.
That.
It does not shut off. Yeah. That's why I need audiobooks to like drain out.
Yeah. I get it. Somebody asked me last night, like, oh, are you going to go see the new Twisters movie? And I was like, no, that can happen in my real life. I don't need to go see a movie about what can happen in my real life. My mind will already take me there. I don't need to watch a movie about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially this summer. It's been like Twister every day.
Like, I don't need, I know they're real. I don't need to watch that.
That's so funny.
What is your current go-to podcast?
Therapeutic Intentions.
Oh, you have to say that. There's a brown spot on your nose.
No, for real. I think because like obviously like we're really close, and so it's fun to like support you. Mm-hmm. But like as I said earlier, when I'm listening, I just feel like I'm like, I don't know, like third party call, like eavesdropping with you and someone else.
Yeah. My cousin Dara, who lives in California, says that too. She's like, well, we can't talk weekly, so when I listen to your podcast, I feel like I'm staying in the know. Like,
yes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said earlier, since I switched to like audiobooks, like I don't have a ton of like podcast time. Okay. I do like true crime podcasts. So when they release like a mini series, I'll like binge that.
What is one song you have to sing along to whenever it comes on?
Okay, so back to my like broad taste. This is so hard because I love all music, like old music. Like I'm talking old like 50s music up until like, I don't know, probably like not so much like the past like 10 years maybe, but whatever. It's like 2014 and before.
Well, and then like contemporary Christian music.
Yes.
Like, it just depends on the
like,
genre.
90s country like just slaps. And like 90s grunge and 80 pop music and like 70s classic rock. Like I'll listen to whatever. But my current favorite artist, which literally cannot help but sing along. Like I like everything, but when this artist comes on, I can't, like, it just like comes out, is Evan Honer.
I don't know who that is.
That does not surprise me. I found him on TikTok. And then like so I like followed him on Spotify, and Mike enjoys this guy as well. And so somehow Mike made it to 2024 without having ever been to a concert.
Wow.
And this guy, Evan Honer, he played in Des Moines. And so we went and saw him. That was Mike's first concert this spring.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah. Okay. So any Evan Honer song?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Yes. I'm going to have to listen to him and see if...
You probably won't like it. It's like indie folk music. You'll probably be like,
I'll give it a try. I will for you.
I love it.
Okay. Last one. What is your favorite way to relax at the end of a long day?
What's that?
Folding laundry.
listening to an audiobook, cleaning my kitchen. But okay, that's a joke. But for real, like having that or like a podcast or good music, you know the Latina artist Selena.
Yes,
I love Selena.
Oh,
and so like my kids and I will like dance around and whatever. But also Mike and I have done a really good job throughout our entire relationship of having a show that we watch together.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And so I think like that's probably it, right? Like we get the kids fed and play and baths and bedtime, and then it's like we get in our bed, just us, and we put the show on that we're able to like veg out and just like have that space together.
Yeah, I like that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
Our listeners probably.
This is so funny. I'm gonna like totally rat on Mike and I. So this is probably it. So when the kids have been like extremely naughty, we don't say naughty in our house, but like making bad choices.
Yes.
And it's just been like a night. After they go to bed, we will order ice cream from Dairy Barn, the local place in town, and he goes and gets it, and we eat it like in bed watching our show after they're asleep, like to the kids.
Yep. I love that. That's a really good idea. They have no idea. And then someday down the road, you'll be able to admit to them, like, we've been getting ice cream without you for years.
Yeah. Well, Joey came in the other night and we had like the little styrofoam containers on our table. And she's like, I'm just telling you guys that I need to go to the bathroom. I was like, I thought we were caught for sure.
Yeah, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she probably can't like not be honest with you about
anything. She rats on herself. Yeah, she's the best. So it's Sullivan. He does not rat on himself, but he's also the best.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Meg, I'm so grateful that you chose to come on. Like, I know it's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, but I think it's just good for listeners to hear from just an honest standpoint, a raw and honest standpoint of how we make this friendship work. And also, like, I just had that download and I had to act on it. And so thank you for going along with it for me. And
yeah, my absolute pleasure. I think it's an important topic too. And hopefully hearing to like adults like speak about it like so authentically will help. Yeah. Also, you can listen to this podcast on like 1.5 or 1.75 speed if you want to.
That would be so interesting. I've never thought about doing that. That would be cool.
Do you listen to podcasts on 1.0 speed?
I think so. I didn't know you could change it.
Oh my God, that is painful.
Really?
Yeah. The most recent book that I was listening to, I listened to on 2.0 speed because I wanted to like get it over with.
Oh, wow. My mind, you just taught me something. It's crazy. Wow.
This is a relationship.
Yep, that's real life right here. I'm not editing all that much from it, so just know that.
So real. Definitely 2.5.
Yeah, for real. Thank you so much, though, Meg. I appreciate you. And for you listeners, if you found value in today's episode and maybe you thought of your own best friend and you're like, she needs to listen to this, he needs to listen to this, whatever, send it to them. If it really resonated with you, take a screenshot, put it on your story on social media, tag me or DM me and let me know what you took away from it. I just love hearing from listeners. It's so fun. I love to hear what people like, what they don't like, what you learned from it, all of it. Send me those DMs. I love it. Also, if you haven't yet, take literally like 5 seconds and whatever podcast app you listen to me on, please rate or review the podcast. That really just helps. So when people are searching for it, it goes higher up in the search. So thank you. If you've already done that, I really appreciate it. And if you do leave a review, just know I'll do a shout out to you in upcoming episodes. All right. Until next time, have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us. It means so much to me. If there were any aha moments or anything that really resonated with you on today's episode, then please take a minute and share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you. Also, if you could, please rate and review the podcast as it is new, and that really helps to get the word out there more and reach even more listeners. I'll catch you on the next episode.